Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and I am back with another reaction to The Flash. We are on season 4, episode 8, which is entitled Therefore I Am. Obviously a reference to the thinker. The first half of that quote, of course, is I think and therefore. So last week we had the training of Ralph. He's now part of Team Flash, and most of the episode was focused on getting him through, I guess, the basics of superheroing 101. And, as I put in my review last week, I felt like it wasn't, I don't know if I was happy with the execution of how they were training Ralph. I mean, I know there's a lot of good justifications as to why certain things happen, like Barry not using his super speed when it would have been very easy for him, at least in several occasions that I thought he could have done to remedy the situation. But if the whole point is to get Ralph kind of up to speed, pun intended, with what's going on in the whole, meta-human world and how, Team Flash works, then, slowing things down for Barry was probably a necessary evil. So the biggest plot movement we got last week was definitely the reveal of who the Thinker is. Team Flash now is aware of his name. They found out where he lived, and they showed up on his doorstep, and of course, Joe and Barry were not expecting to see a man in a wheelchair and, a very domesticated looking wife. So, I'm hoping that Barry's not going to go into this too naive. I don't think Team Flash is ever going to just take things at face value anymore after being blindsided not once but twice by people who didn't look as dangerous as they really were. But we'll have to see how things go in this episode as they feel out like who DeVoe is, what DeVoe's motivation is. I'm hoping we'll get some more answers as to why or what his motivation is around why he set these things in motion for this season, namely creating the metas and having, Barry and the crew kind of round them up. And I think we're getting just a couple steps closer to, the West Allen wedding, which is probably the biggest event of this season that I'm going to be looking forward to. I'm just going to keep that real. But enough talking about this episode. Let's watch it, and then we can chit-chat about it after. Okay? Boop. Central City University. 4 years ago. So did Barry create the Thinker? 4 years ago is when the particle accelerator went off, correct?
Not yet.
When?
Cerebro? Oops. Wrong genre.
At this point, it's just a concept. I'm nothing without you.
Don't you forget it.
Why him? DeVoe's are coming in.
Yeah. I'd wager at least 1,100 individuals, give or take a few, with that last name in Central City area alone.
The name's been identified.
It's a
for
very
its connection to
accurate
4
number.
Separate criminal cases.
So you think my...
Did she mention her work?
No. Mina was an animated woman. Then again, people like us who see education as a
Animated woman. I see what they did there.
This shy college professor who likes mac and cheese doesn't exactly seem like a criminal mastermind to me.
I mean, come on. It wouldn't be the first time somebody played nice and then turned out to be our bad guy.
Thank you.
I'm just saying, there's something weird about this guy. He likes samurai. Who doesn't? Have you seen Zatoichi?
True.
Caitlin, you've got friends at CCU. Let's see what kind of person we're dealing with. Will do. Dad, CCPD, background check.
Ooh, I was telling her dad what to do. I like it.
Considering I get to marry the co-worker of my dreams a week from now.
Aww.
Sometimes I feel like...
What?
Like what?
Like I'm the luckiest man alive.
Oh. Did Clifford do that on purpose?
Because those who don't learn from...
Look at Barry with his stank face.
Because those who don't...
Where were you 4 years ago on the night of January 7th?
Well, damn, that's specific.
Honestly.
Just email me.
What did he
And
steal?
again, I'm sorry to bother you.
And how come the papers didn't go flying?
Guys, I'm telling you, Clifford DeVoe, he's not what he seems. That could just be the wheelchair. I mean, you do kind of have a bad history. Come on, he's too perfect. Okay, I have a strong...
No, it's not that we don't believe you, Barry. It's just
don't believe you.
right now.
Can the thinker plant vibes?
You were right. That mac and cheese looks unbelievable.
That doesn't sound very villainous, does it? Very.
Cisco Wood holding on that. What are the protesters protesting? Aww.
Tonight, advancements.
I wonder if this was actually from 4 years ago.
It'll bring about advancements. Clifford DeVoe. I'm a big fan.
Oh my goodness.
Sir, I believe
I love
it will have
this.
an enormous impact on our future. Thank you for coming, Professor. Good luck.
I love that. I love that layered moment right there. Kudos. Oh my God. What?
I thought I lost you.
I think you might have.
First my home, then my classroom. What's next? Our bedroom where we sleep.
Joe and I.
Whoa, we're not freaky like that. And now the sinister look. Mm-hmm. I'm getting a lot of season 1 Harry vibes from this whole scenario. Yeah, that wasn't suspicious at all there.
Hi.
What do you...
You forget that this is Joe West's daughter. Finally. Please tell me you're not going back to their house, Barry. This would be a bad idea. Where's your suit, Barry?
Paralysis will come first.
Ooh.
Excuse us, please.
She's just so... He's having a breakdown. Just give us a minute.
He's been watching us for weeks, and I could have proved it, but his wife came back too soon.
Ooh, Barry.
Tell me you did not break into their house.
Ooh. Somebody in trouble.
God, I'm fine.
Hey, we just don't want you to do anything else you regret.
Anything else? What do you mean? What
Why are they talking to him like he's a child?
Breaking. We're good people. We don't deserve this.
Oh, Barry, I guess you weren't fast enough. Oh, snap.
Stay away from us.
You assaulted a police officer. Just slaying, Iris. Like, just stop it. Stop it.
What about after Cecile has the baby? Or after we get married? Or even when we have our first child?
Children.
You know,
Both.
as time goes by, you can't let that consume you. You just have to live in the moment and face it as it comes.
Exactly. It's 2 snaps, Iris.
Scared.
If you really wish to help, construct a temporal vortex distortion chamber and prevent me from ever becoming this atrocity.
This is what we wanted.
I can't
Interesting.
It will last longer.
With this.
They're showing these crazy wheelchairs.
Who's asking? Barry Allen? Or the Flash?
Yep.
How did you?
And wonders all these years punching gorillas with rudimentary powers, chasing mad men shooting icicles. Those were children with play guns, Scimitar, Zoom, Thorn.
Wow.
Their powers are nothing compared to the power of limitless thought. You may be the fastest man alive, Adam.
Smartest.
I'm the fastest mind. Congratulations on your upcoming nuptials. I'll be thinking of you.
Oh, you did not just threaten Iris. I know you didn't just go there.
Sounds like y'all could use a hand.
I missed your little face.
Good to see you.
Oh! What? Why? Ew! You just peel off someone's head like that? That is so gross. That's like a horror version of Cerebro.
What is knowledge without love?
I don't think he's talking about you, sweetie. All right, Mr. Thinker. You're thinking about messing with my West Down. You're lucky. You are so lucky that you changed your mind. And for the wife, you know, I almost felt sorry for you. But the fact that you actually tried to interfere with West Allen means you can go. You are now officially dead to me. So guys, yeah, that was episode 7. Sorry, I think I said 8 before, of The Flash, which was called Therefore I Am. And yeah, we got to finally get the lowdown on the Thinker, kind of his origin story, and well, we still don't know his motivation yet, but at least we know who we're dealing with. This one was kind of good. This was definitely more of an exposition type of episode, and I'm okay with having that from time to time because in a show like The Flash, they have enough episodes to actually take a moment to step back from the action and actually talk about, you know, what's happening and lay out the story and the lay of the land for us. I think the first thing that came across to me as interesting in this episode is the fact that this is the first time that since Barry left the Speed Force that we've seen him be less than his chirpy, super, like everything's amazing, everything is awesome version of himself. And it's very interesting. I'm glad that they addressed it within this episode as to why he took that sudden dip and became so obsessive about figuring out what was going on with the Thinker. I mean, I don't disagree with him. I mean, we've literally sung this song twice before already on The Flash, of having somebody pretend to be an ally and then turn out to be a foe, or at least pretend to be something that they're not. So I was 100% with Barry when he was like, no, we're not just gonna go with, oh, well, he looks good on paper, so that must mean he's okay. Barry was right about this, although his methods, the desperation that he kind of went chasing it was a little bit, well, actually, I'm not going to say it's uncharacteristic, because Barry has that reacted pretty rashly when he feels like the things he holds dear are being threatened. And we've seen that typically that ends up with him doing really, really stupid things like going back in time and erasing things. So at least he didn't go that far this time, but the fact that he went and did the B&E to DeVoe's home and just kind of kept doing things that he knew were just as himself, like that's the biggest thing that got me. I'm like, Barry. Like the break-in, that's when you kind of know that Barry wasn't really thinking logically, because he had the suit. Like if he'd broken in as the Flash, of course it would have sucked, but the Flash is technically not operating within the confines of the law anyway, so at least then, you know, it wouldn't have looked so bad to his outside life. Now, of course, to DeVoe, it doesn't matter, because as we already know, DeVoe knows who he is, but you get what I'm saying. It was just a very careless thing for Barry to do, but that kind of goes into my whole rant that I had last episode about how anonymity just isn't a thing on The Flash anymore, it seems. And that kind of brings us to, you know, Iris and the way she was kind of taking that behavior. You know, it's funny that in episodes like 2 and 3 that she was kind of leery of Barry's super happy, chirpy, you know, disposition, and now she's kind of like, okay, now you're not that anymore, and I don't know if that's the thing I should be worried about. So poor Iris, I mean, she's just trying to keep up with Barry's mood swings at this point, but I thought it was interesting that she kept thinking that Barry's obsession with DeVoe and figuring out like what was going on with him was really like his nervous energy or apprehensions or whatever you might want to call it, cold feet towards the wedding, that he was taking that energy and channeling it into DeVoe. I mean, good on her for kind of getting in there and trying to talk to Barry, and I just love how with West Allen they're showing that they really are a unit. You know, she keeps saying the phrase that we are the Flash, so, you know, if you're off kilter, then I'm off kilter, and we have to make sure we're in sync here. And Barry should feel like he can talk to Iris about whatever's going on with him and whatever apprehensions he has. And he did get to that point in the episode where he was like, listen, this is why I'm panicking so much, because again, my life's in a good place and something is threatening to take that all away from me. And we all know that this is that's his Achilles heel. Like that is Barry's biggest weakness. It really is that Barry fears losing the things he loves the most, right? That's what's driven all of the really, really poor decisions he's ever made in this show so far, was that fear that, oh my God, I'm gonna lose Iris, my family, my parents, my happiness. But I'm glad that Iris came back to him and said, like, listen, babe, you can't be spending your life wondering about all the possible things that could screw up our happiness, because the reality is, in this world, there's always going to be something that's going to be doing this, you know, clutching at and trying to take our happiness from us. You need to live in the moment, right? And that's for anything, right? Of course, they're saying it in the context of the show, but you can take it in life, right? You got to live in the moment. You can't spend your days worrying about what could happen. Life advice from The Flash. Anyway, that was a really cute moment, and I do love that they keep reminding us that next week is supposed to be the wedding, which is, of course, is the crossover event, but we will deal with that when it happens. I'm noticing that I love that scene that scene with the flashback, like, first of all, kudos to the crew, to the show for that whole moment where we saw the flashback from season 1, Barry and Iris being at the particle accelerator launch, and then they mixed it in obviously with some new scenes with DeVoe. That was seamlessly done beautifully. I loved that. That's just a side note. But also, that whole scene where Harry, aka Eobard Thawne, sees DeVoe, and obviously knowing what he knows, just has that little layered scene with him, like, oh, you're DeVoe, okay, yeah, like, you're gonna become someone real interesting. Like, it's so great, like, you know, now that we have all those layers and context, that seemingly innocent and innocuous moment is so loaded. And I love moments like that, and I love that the Flash put that in and it just worked. Now on to the Thinker and his story. I gotta admit that even though he is our villain of the season, he's a little bit different in the sense of, so far, from what we know, his purpose wasn't world domination or any of those types of things that some of the other, or just to be better than Barry. We see that he has this actually quite touching love story with his wife, two very smart people who are passionate about knowledge, passionate about thinking, passionate about just being the best people that they can be via knowledge. Did this thing that from a pure place of really just wanting to be smarter and to be able to access more knowledge to better the world, but that there is this sad and unforeseen consequence, right? Just an interesting story. I really liked seeing, again, I'm not someone who's a fan of seeing, you know, villains that have no purpose or villains that are just evil for the sake of being evil. That's no fun. You know what I mean? That's not realistic. But to see that DeVoe is this person who started out with the right intentions, and we heard him on his little rant about how other people get their powers and they're robbing banks and creating storms, another throwback to season 1. But I just want to do something better and I'm getting punished for it, you know? And his wife, again, just trying to help him, created the chair, I guess that's the only word we can use, the chair, which apparently, I guess, I'm assuming it probably pulls some of the energy from his brain or somehow channels that energy so it's not eating away at his body. But as we saw at the end of the episode, it's not a permanent solution. All it did was slow the deterioration, but it hasn't stopped it. So my guess is, well, let me get to that. But I just want to say, like, coming back to that love story, it is a very inspiring thing, and it's actually quite sweet. I found myself kind of enjoying it, and it's very parallel to, you know, we saw a lot of, you know, Iris and Barry's relationship being showcased in this episode, but it was cool to see how DeVoe kind of has this same ride or die relationship with his wife, and they're this team that works together to be, you know, this better person. And I say better in the sense of for each other, and maybe not for the world at large. And so I just thought that was really touching and a really nice way to present it, because so many times, you know, we see these villains presented in a way of, you know, like Zoom, for example, where it was just a matter of ego. But here we've got a sense of, you know, two people who love each other, who are passionate about something, and who will, I'm sure, discover as the season goes on, will discover what went left on that whole thing. And got them to this place now where they're potentially looking to destroy Barry. Speaking of what they need, I'm still trying to figure out what all this is coming to. Like, what is driving DeVoe? And I have to think is he's trying to save his body, right? It's deteriorating, as we heard. The chair is only helping to some degree. So what does he need to do to stop it altogether? Now, again, these are just my crazy predictions, but I'm wondering if perhaps he's looking into somehow harnessing Barry's DNA, or at least what his DNA is capable of, because we know that Barry's DNA is capable of regenerating itself at, like, you know, lightning speed almost. And so if DeVoe was able to get that energy, or at least figure out some way to get whatever the Flash does into his body, he would basically be able to regenerate. I think his idea is that he would regenerate his body fast enough to compensate for what his brain needs. But why you would have to go through all of the stuff with the people on the bus and everything else to do that, still up in the air. I might be wrong, but I can't think that, like, his first motivation is not going to be to save himself. Like, that that only makes sense. And Wally, So happy to see Wally again. I'm glad he's back. I missed him. That was a nice little surprise at the end. But yeah, guys, that was the episode. I thought that it was really good. Definitely a different kind of pace than we've seen for the first few episodes, but that exposition, in my opinion, was super necessary and super informative. What did you guys think of this episode? Do you think you know what the Thinker's overall plan is? What do you think he's driving at? Why is he going through all of this and playing with Barry like this? And also, what do you think the team's gonna have to do to outthink the most intelligent man on the planet? Is it gonna take a combination of effort? And if so, how? Right? Like how, Sway? How are they gonna defeat this guy? Please leave your comments below. You guys have been super, super helpful and awesome all this week with your comments, helping me fill in the blanks for the stuff that I don't know. And listen, I love it. So go ahead and fill that up down below. And if you like this video, guys, go ahead and click like. And if you wanna see more from this geeky little face, please click subscribe. Until next time, see ya.